Hey folks, Matt Sharp here with another Friday fishing report. This is where we look at a framework of fishing around Vancouver. We touch base a little bit on politics, we look at current events, and obviously we go over the fishing. Today we're filming October 11th, so if today is nowhere near October 11th when you're watching this video, hit up here. This takes us back to our video page, and we do this Friday fishing report every Friday, and so there's probably one that's going to be more up to date for you. This week, we are looking at the Vedder. We talked about the perfect storm last weekend, and it did come to fruition in many ways. There was some dirty water and some stuff to look at there, but we're gonna follow through what happened with the weather and the water levels, and then we're gonna look at it, how that's going to affect this weekend. We're also gonna do the same thing with the Squamish. We've been hearing some good Coho reports off that one front, as well as some Chum reports, so you'll wanna stay tuned for that. We will touch base on the Harrison. There's some Chum reports there too with some caveats, so we'll talk about that in detail. And we got another video this week that we wanted to share with you guys. It's a What's in My Coho Box video where we look at some very special patterns that I use, but more importantly, how I build a box to strategize around the different conditions that we're faced with when coho fishing. So if you want to see more reports like this, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's get into the report. So this week, we're October. This is absolute prime time for salmon right across the spectrum. And last week we talked about the perfect storm. Now, before I get into it, my voice is trash. I had a cold this last week, so bear with me with the raspy voice. And we got another gift this week. I found tequila on my desk this week. Now, unlike last week, I did get to enjoy one of the beverages that was provided by the clients. Don't worry, I'm not going to be doing shots of tequila in this report, though it might make it more entertaining. On the weather front, we are looking again at some pretty solid weather. When we pull up Vancouver, and just for full disclosure, we're filming this Wednesday night. I managed to get a little bit ahead of the curve on it. So this is going to change. You'll probably see the pictures that I put into this report will be from Thursday night or Friday morning. But at least as I'm filming this right now, we are on Wednesday night. And we've got sun Thursday. That doesn't matter to you guys because you're seeing it Friday. Sun Friday, that looks beautiful. We've got a little bit of rain Saturday, a little bit of rain Sunday, and a little bit of rain Monday. And it looks like on the long term, there might be a little bit of a storm coming midweek next week. So nothing that you got to worry about for the weekend if you're a Vancouver fisherman. Let's take a peek up at the Squamish, and you're going to see very similar. That water, actually, there's a little bit of water coming Friday, coming today. And that's a 5 to 10 millimeters with a reasonably warm night, 8 degrees. So we should see some color in the Squamish, and that's actually not a bad thing. The river did blow out yesterday, so Monday, Tuesday, as we sort of expected. But the report was pretty solid when it came back into shape today. And the report was really good before. So this could keep that trend going where we get just little blowouts coming through, which is great because it'll keep fresh fish coming in. And it'll also, keep the stale fish moving around, which is good. Keep some color to the water. Squamish may be a concern on color coming into Saturday. Keep your eyes on it. We'll look at water levels in a second. And then we do get hit Monday again with 20 mils. This 20 mil, looking back at the water we got last week, probably going to blow her out again. I'll show you that in the water levels in a second here. Now, Chilliwack, that's where a lot of the guys are focused because the fishing in Chilliwack was excellent today. Was good on the weekend. We did get dirty water on that Monday dump that sort of came Monday, Tuesday night. But rolling into it here, you can see we're going to have Friday looks clear, Saturday 2 to 4 mils, Sunday 5 to 10. So we should see that itching up a little bit, but it should keep the fishing pretty good. Wet, but pretty good. And then we do have more water sort of Monday, Tuesday, and then a big dump next Wednesday. That's a long way out for a weather forecast. I had a few of you guys comment in it, but you said Wednesday's not going to have any rain. Remember, I'm filming this Thursdays usually, and so a Wednesday next week, the weatherman's usually always off a little bit, but it's still a good guideline to sort of plan your week and maybe pick an area where there's some rain or no rain in the forecast, depending on what the rivers need. So let's roll over to water levels. We've got Squamish here. Yeah, this is Squamish. And you can see here we have that big jump. It jumped up to a 3.8. Now, 3.8 I consider out. That was at a height where it is a challenge to guide, a challenge to raft, a challenge to fish, but not unsafe, meaning that we could find fish in this kind of water. It was just dirty water and a challenge. So for you guys who are out on Monday, Tuesday, I'm sorry, that probably was a bit of a tough fish. But we did hear before that it fished really, really well. And as it's coming down now, like today we heard really good reports. So anytime you see that water between 3 and sort of 2.2, it's definitely go time. And we'll see how that plays out with the rain on Friday if it comes. But if you're looking at that graph and it's hovering in sort of a 2.4 to 3.1, it's definitely go time. The 3.1 will be a little dirty. The 2.4 will be a little bit clear. But those are ranges you can play with. Throw it over, look at the Vedder. You can see that it's almost a mirror image, obviously different numbers. But you can see how it went pretty much out. A 2.2, 2.3 is challenging high water, but still fishable. And the reports we got, there were lots of coho around when the conditions were right, and you can see it settling beautifully right now. The reports from today, so Wednesday, and I expect the reports from Thursday to be excellent. We'll see what Friday brings and see what that water brings, but if the weatherman is true, I expect, again, another great weekend to get out fishing. Just watch these numbers. You know, you might have one day out of the next 5 that might be an issue depending on the rain coming. But if it holds in this sort of level, what you see right now, sort of drop a little, bump up a little, drop a little, note that 2.2 was dirty, but anything below that should be really, really good. On the video side of things, we did a video last week on what's in my Coho box. It's a fun one, and it's one that I really encourage you guys, if you're fly fishing for Coho specifically, whether it's on the Squamish, whether it's on the Harrison, whether it is on the Vedder, check this video out because I look at more of how to build a box. I do have some awesome patterns in it. I share with a bunch of patterns that I've had a few guys tease me about already giving away, but more so the important part of that video is how to look at a box on a whole and build it so you can cover all the different scenarios that you might see on our different rivers. So I want you to check that out. I'm gonna put a link up here. You're gonna see that one flash across if I have my YouTube programming correct, and I'll also put it down in the link in the description below because, like I said, if you are a fly fisherman, it's the one we think you guys will find useful. And there goes my voice again. God, it keeps cracking. Sorry guys, I've had an awful cold the last 3 days. Well, the fishing side of things. So what does all that weather, what does all those water levels mean? When talking to the guys on the Vedder specifically, there were a bunch of coho that came through. Overall, that's going to be a bait show. Guys are throwing roe and being very successful with it. If you want to target coho right now, at least if you're fishing the Chilliwack, roe is definitely something you want to consider. If you're a non-bait guy, you're a fly guy, or you are just a guy that doesn't want to get his hands dirty, which is totally understandable, substitutes like Colorado blades for the gear guys and spoons are producing fish. We heard good reports this week, just maybe not as good as the guys throwing roe. And then for the fly fishermen, if you can find early morning those really soft spots, I swear a fly will actually outfish gear and even roe when we've got very slow moving water. Again, look at that video that I talk about my fly box and what kind of patterns I use in that scenario, but it's definitely worth getting out there. On the Harrison front, we heard the first reports of some chum showing up. Now, I've been talking to a bunch of the biologists, and it doesn't look like we're going to have a good chum run either on the Squamish or on the Harrison this year. I'm just calling it out. I still think there's going to be great opportunity to go chum fishing, but I don't think we're going to expect one of those bonker years where you can't keep a fly in the water. That said, it's worth starting to look out on the Harrison, and we've also heard them on the Squamish. So that rolls into the Squamish, and last week we got some nice clear water, and that's what we were hoping for. We had a bunch of guys higher up in the river, we had a bunch of guys on the tributaries, and we had a bunch of guys in the lower river hooking fish. They also encountered some chum, the first consistent chum reports of the season. But again, nothing to write home about. I don't know if we're going to see big numbers this year at all. But the coho were really good. We had a bunch of guys getting them on fly, and a bunch of guys getting them on spoons and float fishing gear. So long story short, it's a go for the Squamish this weekend. It's a go for the Harrison this weekend, and it's definitely a go for the Vedder this weekend. Alex has info on the Vedder in the report. Jordan has some info on the Squamish, so you want to check that out. And as always, that's in the blog with all of our stuff. Now, the last one in the report that's a little interesting, we brought on a new guy this season. His name's Sterling, and he's actually a scientist by trade. He's taking his master's degree, and we're always blessed to get really smart dudes working here. But he's also a hardcore interior lake guy. He fishes hardcore for salmon with his gear rod, and then he fly fishes in the interior for lakes. Now, he's got a cabin on an unnamed lake up north. So I'm not going to talk about the exact spot, but he's got a really good overview in this week's report of what's going on in sort of that Merritt region for lake fishing, and something you want to check out, something that Aiden's been doing an awesome job of all season. But between Aiden and Sterling, we're going to have a really good coverage of lake fishing, at least for the last couple of weeks of the season, and then you'll look forward to seeing that in the spring when the lake fishing picks up again. Well, that's the end of the report, guys. Thanks for sticking with me and my cracking, raspy voice. As always, if you liked what you saw here, consider hitting that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. And also in the comment section down below, leave any questions you might have. We had a really cool question last week in one of the videos asking how fast fish move. And I thought this was a really cool one that I actually had in the back of my head to do a video on, where we look at how fast a coho might move in the Fraser versus the Vedder versus maybe the low Squamish, depending on the conditions. This is something I've seen really good guides all pay attention to. They don't want to go to where the hot report was yesterday. They want to go to where the fish are going to be, and they'll sort of bump their way up a river following the waves of fish as they come through. And having some base knowledge on that is obviously something that the guides have as a gut feel, but it'd be fun to put some numbers to it. I'm going to work on that video over the next 2 weeks, but if you guys have any other ideas like that, like I said, please let me know in that comment section, and we'll catch you in next week's report.